Hello YouTube, welcome back to another episode of the Fireblade build. I've not been very good at filming what I've been doing, just sort of picking away at jobs, but I'll give you a quick front to back summary of what I've been doing. So I've taken the wheels out, front wheel out, I've taken the discs off of it, it's over there. That's due to be, take the tyre off and get it powder coated. I haven't cleaned any of this up yet, this is how it was. The radiator has been cleaned up, I had a bit of corrosion on the stubs and stuff, cleaned that off, washed it through, given it a lick of black paint to tidy it up. I've also soaked it in hot water to loosen off some of the debris in it and get a bit more flow through it. Obviously you can see there's a nice 5-piece silicone hose kit that's been installed. Word to the wise, if you buy this kit, it doesn't come with this pipe and it doesn't come with this pipe, so you'll have to buy some generic silicone pipe to finish it off. Yeah, carbs have been gone through, I haven't heard them run yet, so that's actually the job of today, to hear it run. Engine bay's been cleaned up nicely, just had a bit of gunk and grease in there. We now have a magnetic sump plug, it's got oil in it, fresh filter obviously. I've cleaned out randomly the sort of passage between here, this outlet, coolant outlet, and where the thermostat is, here. I couldn't get any flow through it, and so a bit worried about this. The bike was stood for a very long time, and I think it was stood with water in, so there's quite a lot of rust inside the head in the coolant jacket. So I soaked it with bleach, and at the bottom it was like you could see the corrosion. I picked away at it until I got a bit of the bleach through, and this sort of soaked away and dissolved a lot of the rust. And then this was sort of a day's work getting this done. In the end I had like sort of a garden hose in the top and a good flow out the bottom. There's another fitting on this side of the engine here, in there. I had to drill that out, that was blocked. So I'm a bit nervous about the coolant system, so I'm going to run it up, give it a few heat cycles and just keep on draining the coolant. I might even use some coolant cleaner until I get rust-free coolant out. Just going to use normal water for now. So that's been a really big job to like make sure I'm confident this thing's not going to melt itself. Got new throttle cables and clutch cable and grips on the way. I haven't installed those yet. What else has been done? So on the rear of the bike, the rear sets have been rebuilt, re-greased and polished. They need to be repolished just on the final job, but they've been sort of rough polished now. So they've gone a bit cloudy, but they will come up really bright. The entire swinging arm has been degreased and cleaned, so you can see inside of here it's all lovely, no chain lube flung off. The rear assembly has been cleaned as well, the threads are cleaned up. I've used a considerable amount of WD-40 to get it in this condition and just make it all look lovely. It's got nice original stickers on it, and this is what I wanted to do, just make it super clean as a track bike should be. You can see under here the triangle we've got a slightly different colour finish. This is a jack-up kit, plus 5mm I think, which will make the bike sort of sit on its nose a bit more. We've got a new outer cover here from the same era bike. This is only on the Gen 1 SC28. Hondas have this. The pump behind it is off of a CBR900rr F2 I believe. This was completely corroded and seized in the previous bike, so that needed to be all new. So new pump, new housing, new hoses, cleaned out radiator and head, in the hope that that gives me enough coolant flow not to melt the engine. Jobs for today are to airbox, fuel, battery, just put the wiring back in and try and get this bike to run. So there'll be a little time lapse coming up now, but it's been quite a lot of days to get to this stage where I might be able to hear it run. A lot of cleaning, just making sure the bike sort of sounds, no cracks. There's a few bits of gravel rash here and there, so it has been in the kitty litter once, but yeah. Then once I've heard the engine run, which will hopefully be the close out of this episode, the plan is to then start spending the real money and invest in sort of powder coating things, Cerakoting things, new tyres, new rubber, new pads, new lines, and stuff you do on any track bike. And then suspension, which is really expensive. I might have found a rear shock as well, but more to come on that later on. Success. So I have the battery just on. Tried to start the bike. I can share that with you now. So if we see up here, the oil light is on. And now it's off. So we have oil pressure around the engine. I'll do that a couple more times, keep the battery on charge, and then I'll look to clean it out of the tank. Whilst I'm cleaning out the tank, I'll charge up the battery, and then good, we have oil pressure. Things spin, things are going to get lubricated, no need to panic. Fuel, spark, compression, babies. So I have turned the bike over, got oil pressure, no sort of obvious leaks from the coolant system. I've got fuel in, I think I've plumbed the fuel in. I've heard the fuel pump prime. I've moved the location of the battery down to there, just hidden in there temporarily. I think it's got a little kill switch in there I've turned on. I think if I turn it on, I think I'm expecting to the fuel pump now. I'll give it a go anyway. It's the first attempt at starting it. Bear with me. A bit of a stinker. I've been trying to get this bike running for quite a while. Gone through, it's got no spark, so I've gone through the coils and there's no spark at the spark plug, there's no spark at the HT lead, and the coils, a bit of rust on the mounting bolts, so I cleaned those up. Still no spark. I'm going through all the connections on the bike. I've been taken apart and cleaned the switch assembly, cleaned off any oxidation on the kill switch, sort of all the usual tricks. Nothing did it. Then I looked at the CDI, and the big plug for the CDI, this one, was only partially pushed in. It was all in, but it wasn't clicked. So I clicked it. And moment of truth, so I put the spark plug back in, and I'm going to see if it runs. I've got my remote tank set up, see if how this goes. This is honestly first attempt. I think it needs an airbox on it to give it a bit more fuel, then we're probably in. It's still not running, still it's very close, so I can hear, I can feel a bit of warmth on the some of the headers, not firing quite. So two reasons why. I think the choke assembly is no good. It just it seems seized, can't control it from what's on the yoke, so I'm going to disassemble that and try and fix that, so I can at least do choke if I want to do it. I've got no throttle cables on, so I might just up the throttle position and also tighten the clamps. At the moment the rubbers are just pushed onto the head. I should imagine there's a big leak there because they're very tight to get on. I have to put a heat gun on them to get them on, but I'll take it all off, fix the choke thing so it slides nicer, put it all back together, tighten it all up, tighten all the clamps up, put the airbox on, tighten all the clamps up, go again and see if we have life. Yeah, slowly, carbs off again. She runs. Alright, so the bike runs, which is good. It only runs on choke, it doesn't run on the mains yet, or just on the idle jets. I can't seem to adjust the idle because the idle adjuster seems pretty fixed in place. So I'll have a look at that. Throttle cables, I don't have them yet, they're in the post. So when they arrive, I'll install them and I'll be able to rev the bike and see how it revs. But proof's in the pudding, it runs, so I'm going to just drain the coolant now, fill it up again, start it again, drain the coolant, repeat that a few times, a bit boring. But it's good. I've heard the engine, that's a big, major step in the right direction, and we're getting there. Happy. Guys, I'm going to make another attempt at this video because the microphone didn't work in the last one. So, quick summary of what I've done this weekend on the Fireblade. So, the wheels themselves, they've been stripped. I've broken the beads, I've cut the valves out, I've knocked the wheel bearings out. These are now completely ready to have the wheels taken off and then powder coated. I've sold the original rear shock. I've bought an Öhlins from Ireland. I've made this new chair out of my girlfriend's Honda Jazz with wheels on it, which is just fucking spectacular. The bike is just looking a lot cleaner compared to the sort of start of this video. You can tell the fork legs look a completely different colour, this sort of burnt bronze anodised finish. You can now see, so yeah, from the front, all of this axle gunge has been cleaned up, the old grease has been removed, it now works. The caliper themselves I've disassembled, taken apart, they're in lovely condition, reused almost all of it. One of them had a small nick, putting the main seal back in, so I'm going to buy new seals and do that one later. I'm not using dust seals just to prevent a little bit of stiction, because it's a track bike, it's always going to be clean, don't need that. The forks will eventually be rebuilt, standard, just set up for track use. The Harris clip-ons I've polished up to make it a bit nicer. I've also changed the lengths of them so slightly further out because I'm a big boy. I've mounted this coolant expansion tank here. I've done the choke cable using the old ignition barrel, and that now works. As a choke, it didn't before. It's got a new clutch cable, which is lovely and light. A lot of changes around the rear of the bike. This sort of a fake carbon fibre rear hugger will actually save quite a lot of dirt on the bike. It's a useful thing to have. I've mounted that. I had to drill and tap another hole to mount it on all the 4 holes, so it's nice and rigid. The rear master cylinder I've had apart. The piston was in lovely nick, so I'll reuse that. I'm going to put new lines front and rear, but just reuse the sort of seals and stuff from it. All of this again, all this rear axle was seized up and gummed up with really old ancient grease, so that's been replaced with nice fresh stuff. And yeah, mounted the exhaust, you know that already, run the bike up. I've done quite a lot of work, I just can't remember what it was. What else is there? Yeah, so yeah, chain guide is now back on, cleaned up. All the suspension linkage is just waiting for that Öhlins to arrive, then I can finish it. The engine runs, doesn't run very well, needs a bit more time and patience to sort that out, but it's easier with a throttle connected. I've cleaned up this, I've ACF 50'd it. Of the fairing itself, I've cleaned up the visor, that come up really nicely. I've cleaned up the discs, the innards to make them look clean, that looks really nice. Needs a new 530 chain to get it running, wheels, tyres, suspension. I've put a bid in on a seat and a sort of seat cowl, and then it's going to start looking like a motorbike very soon. I've ordered a lithium battery which will mount in here, which will allow me to sort out the wiring, tidy it up, rivet this to the frame, riv nut it to the frame so it's supported. Then that's all the fabrication work done on the bike, and then we really are on the home straight. I think that's all for now.